April 3rd, 1971, Nashville Municipal Auditorium. 8,000 people packed into a space meant for 6,000. Millions more watching on live television. And then Johnny Cash did something that would break Elvis Presley completely, right there on stage. What happened next wasn't just music history. It was a moment so sacred, so raw, that the recording was locked away for decades. Tonight, you're going to witness the night two legends became brothers through gospel music. The Nashville Municipal Auditorium was buzzing with electricity. This was the Gospel Music Association's annual awards ceremony, where the biggest names in country and gospel music came together to celebrate faith through song. But tonight felt different. There was anticipation in the air, like everyone knew something special was about to happen. Elvis sat in the third row, wearing that signature black suit with the high collar. Those famous sunglasses hiding eyes that hadn't slept well in months. He wasn't supposed to perform that night. His manager, Colonel Parker, had made that crystal clear. Elvis was there as a guest, nothing more. He was exhausted from his Vegas residency, 2 shows a night, every night. Parker didn't want him taking on any extra commitments, but Elvis had insisted on coming. You see, gospel music wasn't just music to him. It was home. It was his mama's voice singing hymns in their tiny Tupelo house. It was church services where being poor didn't matter, because everyone was equal before God. It was the only music that still felt pure to him, untouched by the machinery of fame and commerce. Johnny Cash was on stage, having just finished performing with the Statler brothers. He was in a good period of his life, recently married to June Carter, fighting his way back from years of addiction and self-destruction. Gospel music had been part of his recovery, a way to reconnect with something bigger than himself. As the applause died down, Johnny did something unexpected. Instead of leaving the stage, he walked to the microphone and spoke directly to the audience. "You know," Johnny said, his deep voice carrying clearly through the auditorium, "we have someone very special with us tonight. Someone who, before he was the king of rock and roll, was a gospel singer. Someone whose voice can move mountains when he lets it." Elvis shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He knew where this was going. "Elvis Presley is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen." The audience erupted in applause. Cameras swung toward Elvis, catching him on the big screens flanking the stage. He smiled and waved, but his heart was pounding. "Now, I know Elvis came here as a guest," Johnny said, a slight smile on his face. "But I also know that this man has one of the greatest gospel voices God ever put on this earth. And I think it's a shame that the world doesn't get to hear it anymore." The audience murmured in agreement. Elvis could feel every eye in the building on him. Johnny looked directly at Elvis, his expression serious now. "Elvis, I'm going to do something here. I'm going to dare you, brother. I dare you to come up here and remind us all why gospel music matters. I dare you to sing the way you used to sing in church, before any of this fame and fortune. I dare you to sing for your mama." The mention of his mother hit Elvis like a physical blow. Gladys Presley had died in 1958, 13 years ago, and Elvis still couldn't think about her without feeling like his chest was being crushed. She had loved gospel music more than anything. She'd raised him on it, surrounded him with it, made sure he understood that no matter how far he went in life, gospel was where truth lived. The auditorium was completely silent, waiting for Elvis's response. He could feel the television cameras on him, could sense the expectation in the room. Part of him wanted to refuse, to smile and shake his head, to maintain the boundary between Elvis the Vegas performer and Elvis the person. But another part of him, a deeper part, was already standing up. Elvis rose from his seat slowly. The audience gasped, then burst into applause. He made his way down the aisle toward the stage, his legs feeling heavy, his mind racing. He hadn't sung gospel in public in years, not since his mother died. Every time he tried, the emotion was too much. It felt like opening a wound that had never properly healed. Johnny met him at the stage steps, reaching down to help him up. As their hands clasped, Johnny leaned in close and whispered something only Elvis could hear. "I know this is hard, brother, but we need this. I need this. Sing us back to who we really are." Elvis looked into Johnny's eyes and saw something there that surprised him. Desperation. Pain. Despite all his success, despite his marriage to June and his apparent recovery, Johnny was still struggling, still fighting his demons, still searching for something to hold on to. Elvis nodded, slowly, and walked to the center of the stage. The house band was ready, waiting for his signal, but Elvis waved them off. "If I'm going to do this," he said into the microphone, his voice quiet, "I'm going to do it the way my mama taught me. Just voice, just faith, just truth." The auditorium fell silent again. Elvis closed his eyes, and for a moment he was back in Tupelo, standing in the First Assembly of God Church, 8 years old, listening to his mother's voice blending with the choir. He could almost smell the old wood of the pews, feel the summer heat, hear the rustle of paper fans moving in the congregation. When Elvis opened his mouth and began singing "Amazing Grace," something in the room shifted. This wasn't Elvis the performer. This wasn't the practiced, professional delivery of a trained vocalist. This was something raw, more real. His voice cracked on the first line, wavered on the second, but kept going. Each word carried weight, carried memory, carried 13 years of grief and guilt and longing. Johnny Cash stood at the side of the stage watching, and within 30 seconds, tears were streaming down his face. He hadn't expected this. He'd challenged Elvis, thinking it would be a powerful moment, a reminder of shared roots. But this was something else entirely. This was a man singing his way through heartbreak, using gospel as the only language strong enough to contain his pain. The cameras captured it all. Elvis center stage, eyes closed, voice breaking and rebuilding with each phrase. Johnny off to the side, openly weeping. The audience, 8,000 people sitting in absolute silence, many of them crying too. And beyond the auditorium, millions of television viewers watching something they'd never seen before. Elvis Presley, completely vulnerable, completely honest, completely human. As Elvis moved through the verses, something remarkable happened. His voice grew stronger, more certain. The wavering stopped. The cracks healed. It was as if the act of singing through the pain was actually healing something inside him. The wound he'd been protecting for 13 years was finally being allowed to breathe. Johnny couldn't stay on the sidelines anymore. He walked to center stage, standing beside Elvis, and began singing harmony. Their voices blended, Johnny's deep bass supporting Elvis's soaring tenor, creating a sound that was both mournful and hopeful, both broken and whole. When they reached the final verse, something unexpected happened. Elvis opened his eyes, turned to Johnny, and sang directly to him. Not to the audience, not to the cameras, to Johnny. And in that moment, 8,000 people and millions of television viewers witnessed something sacred. One broken man offering healing to another broken man through song. The song ended. For several seconds there was no sound at all. Then slowly, people began to stand. Not to applaud, just to stand. A silent acknowledgement of what they'd witnessed. Even the television crew was standing, cameras still rolling, but operators wiping their eyes. Johnny and Elvis stood facing each other on stage. Johnny's face was wet with tears, his shoulders shaking. Elvis reached out and pulled him into a hug, and Johnny collapsed against him, sobbing. "Thank you," Johnny whispered, barely audible. "Thank you for saving my life tonight." Elvis held him tighter. "You saved mine, brother. You dared me to remember who I am." They stood there, two of the biggest names in music history, holding each other up in front of thousands of people. And nobody moved. Nobody applauded. Everyone just stood in silent witness to this moment of genuine human connection. Finally, June Carter walked onto the stage. She came to Johnny, gently touched his shoulder, and he released Elvis and turned to her. She wrapped her arms around her husband, and he buried his face in her shoulder, still crying. Elvis watched them, feeling something shift inside himself. He saw the way June held Johnny, the way she provided strength without judgment, the way she loved him through his brokenness. Elvis turned to the audience and spoke into the microphone, his voice thick with emotion. "I want to thank Johnny for reminding me tonight that some things are bigger than fame, bigger than success, bigger than any of this." He gestured around the auditorium. "My mama used to tell me, 'Elvis, don't ever forget where you come from. Don't ever forget that God gave you that voice for a reason.' I think maybe I forgot that for a while, but tonight Johnny helped me remember." He paused, looking at Johnny, who had composed himself enough to stand upright again. "And I want to say something else. What we just did up here, that's what gospel music is supposed to be. It's not about being perfect. It's not about hitting every note. It's about being real, being honest, being willing to be broken in front of each other so we can help each other heal."